you have stumbled on the Lenoir County Republican Party Convention video. This convention took place on Monday, March 11th, 2019. This convention was a good convention. It was also a relatively short convention, I will say, as this convention was over at 7:45 p.m. However, though, this is one of those conventions I was very glad to go to, because this convention was the only convention that I attended in the county convention cycle that was in District 3. So I get to the convention site. It's at King's Barbecue. And I get there and I go to the front of the restaurant, which, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you an insider tip here. So I go to the inside and I say the very front of the restaurant, and you can tell when a place is good food. This was on Monday night. Monday nights, especially in the restaurant industry, are usually pretty bad as far as sales, and as far as, they're very slow and sluggish, like a good Eastern Carolina barbecue molasses or something like that. But I get to the convention venue. I get there. Okay. The registration to open for the convention starts at 6. I get there about 5:55, and I probably spend maybe 10 or 15 minutes in my car. It's a very nice day. It's like 60 degrees outside, so I got the windows open. I'm reading a book, a great book about baseball, about, Astro Ball, it's called. It's about how the Houston Astros went from 100-loss team to World Series contender, and now hopefully the guy who's used to run the Astros is now at the Orioles, my favorite baseball team, and hopefully they'll turn that around too. But anyway, back to politics. So I go to the restaurant, the front of the building, and I say, "Hi, I'm here for the Lenoir County GOP convention." And the young lady tells me I have to go back outside and go to the side of the building, because apparently when you go to King's Barbecue there in Kingston, and this is right off the main drag in Kinston, okay, right off of US Highway 70, okay, right off the main drag, the busiest road in Lenoir County, okay. If you ever have an event at King's Barbecue, make sure you always go to the right-hand side of the building. When you go in, you'll see they'll have a marker board. This room has this convention, this room is that convention. Well, room number 2 was the one that had the Lenoir County convention in it. So I go in, and right away I am very, very, very warmly welcomed by Michelle Nix, who is now former vice chair of the North Carolina Republican Party, former chair of the Lenoir County Republican Party, and now is the wife of the current chair, or chair at that time, John Nix. And there's been a lot of people, especially in the Tea Party wing, especially the Libertarian wing of the Republican Party, who have really given Michelle Nix a lot of flack. Is some of it fairly justified, in my opinion? Yes, some of it is, but most of it is not. I will tell you that my friendship with Michelle Nix has always been good. In 2014, she was resolutions chair for District 7, and she printed out like 100 copies of the resolution I had, which was talking about how the delegate fee to attend the basic general session fee for the state convention was too high. She printed like 100 copies out and got them out. The resolution was defeated, but still, I was glad that she helped, because sometimes when you have a resolution, the resolution chair puts their own opinion in, and they do not act well on your behalf. But Michelle Nix did the right thing and was a very good resolutions chair. Before that, she was, of course, Lenoir County chair. She did a very, very good job with that, I will say. And she one time she was in 3 congressional districts, so she had to go to meetings for the 1st district, the 3rd district, and the 7th district. A lot of meetings, but she did it. She didn't complain about it. She's from upstate New York. Moved down here probably about 10 or 15 years ago, sometime in the 2000s, I believe. Has always been works in the financial industry. Started in North Carolina Republican Party politics the same way I did. She's kind of a mentor to me, almost. I should say, yeah, it kind of is. She started going to Republican meetings in Lenoir County, became precinct chair. Got on the executive committee, then got on the district and state executive committee, then decided to run for chair, did that for a term or 2. Then her husband took over for a term or 2 when she was voted on to be vice chair of the state party. Now, a lot of what went on in her tenure as state vice chairwoman, which was from June of 2015 until last month when she stepped down to run for Congress in the 3rd district. Just about all of her tenure, or the heavy moments, I was down in Florida when they occurred. The only thing I will say is that I hear towards the beginning of her term she was very loyal to Hassan Harnett, which is very good. In 2017, she decided to stay quiet in the chairman's race between Robin Hayes and Jim Womack, okay? Which I think was a mistake. She had a very good opportunity to run against or endorse Jim Womack, okay, and say, look, this is all the crap that's been going on in the party for the last 2 years. It needs to stop. She did not do that. She remained quiet, okay. And also there was a Facebook feud, in other words, a back and forth argument on Facebook between Michelle Nix and Jim Womack. However, I am pleased to say that whatever disagreement there was between Mrs. Nix and Mr. Womack, those are now far, far in the rearview mirror, because at this year's county convention in Lenoir County, Jim Womack was the very first speaker of the night. He was given 2 minutes to talk about his candidacy. And not only that, but Jim Womack stayed throughout the entire convention, both the candidates portion and the business portion. And at the end of this whole event, guess who was smiling and hugging with each other? It was Jim Womack and Michelle Nix. So any thoughts of toxicity, is that a word? I don't know. Any thoughts of toxic relations between Michelle Nix and Jim Womack were from 2017 and are not present in 2019. I am pleased to tell you. Okay. And I'm gonna get to Michelle Nix's speech for District 3 Congress in a little while, but I will tell you, when I heard her speak, I was very impressed. I was like, whatever dust-ups she had as a vice chair, whatever happened to the Raleigh version of Michelle Nix. Let me tell you something. The Eastern Carolina Kinston version of Michelle Nix, very good. Outstanding. Very good, I should say. Okay, so this convention was supposed to start at 7, okay? However, this convention actually started 25 minutes early, so my tip for all you convention goers out there is to try and make sure you I don't want to be the first one to register at convention, but I also don't want to be the last one. So try and get there at least 15-20 minutes early before the registration cutoff, just in case they start early, which they decided to do in this particular case. Okay, so Jim Womack for North Carolina State Party Chair was given 2 minutes to speak. I've already talked about what he has said in previous convention videos, and I'm going to do an endorsement video on him in May. But he's a very good guy. Justice Paul Newby wanted to attend the convention tonight, but he had a scheduled conflict. John Nix read a statement, and basically it's the same thing I've told y'all before about Justice Newby, okay? But one new thing that John Nix pointed out was that Justice Newby's asked for $20 for 2020, $20 for 2020, and that is to beat the Democrats' donor network. You know, they had over Anita Earls, who ran against Barbara Jackson for the state Supreme Court and won, unfortunately. Anita Earls' donor network, she had over 3,000 donors who gave. Guess what the average donation was of these 3,000 donors? $3. $3. That was it. So yeah, we're trying to. Justice Paul Newby's a very honorable man, a very, very honorable man. He's trying to come back to say, hey, okay, well they did 3 for 3,000. Let me do 20 for 2020. You know. Okay, and then we have the introduction of our convention chair, Mr. Bob Pruitt. If you know the very basics of North Carolina Republican Party politics, if you have spent any amount of seconds or minutes in the east part of the state, you should know the name Bob Pruitt. He's a good guy. He's sort of worn all of the hats of the state party. He's very good at it. Yeah, he's 83 years old, but he looks like he's only about 63. I mean, he's full of energy and gusto. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Bob Mueller, who is a good dear mentor and friend of mine from Pender County. So Bob Mueller is like in his mid 80s, okay, but he's the he's the what you call it, age is the young, what you call it, the old but still alive and kicking guy of Southeast Carolina, whereas Bob Pruitt is the old but age is just a number kind of guy of Northeast or Central Eastern Carolina, however you want to say it. But Bob Pruitt, he kept things moving along. He also cracked a few jokes, which is always nice from time to time too. He's got a good sense of humor. His first act was saying that he was talking about the convention room and how, boy, everything's so close together in this convention room. I was at Carteret County last Saturday. They had 120 delegates, and you had 60 on one side and 60 on the other side of the room, and I was right in the middle. And I'm just glad that I'm a lot closer, and the atmosphere is a lot, he said, I guess it was a lot more friendlier, I guess he said, something like that. But the credentials report was read. There's 25 delegates at this convention. But get this, 22 guests. So the number of guests at this convention almost went over the number of delegates. And that, of course, is mainly because of the District 3 congressional race, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. But at this time, Bob Pruitt actually introduced the 3rd District Chair Carl Miska. And Bob said that Carl's from Wisconsin and he doesn't like Eastern Carolina barbecue. And the whole room kind of booed and hissed. It was a fun time. But Carl talked about the 3rd District Convention. And let me tell you something. It is imperative that you go to your district convention. I talked about this at length in my video all about the North Carolina convention process. But it's imperative you go to districts because, especially this year and in any odd number year, because number one, you get to vote for who you want to run the district. But number two, you have a chance of becoming a member of the state executive committee. Okay, so it's very important that you go to your own district convention. After you go to your district convention, though, if you want to go to another district convention, you definitely need to go District 3 because their convention is like an all-day event. You know how most county and district conventions maybe like a couple hours at most? District 3 is going to be an all-day event. I went in 2014. The event started at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we were actually forced out at 4 o'clock because we only had rented the convention venue there in Havelock only for that amount of time. We could have easily gone another couple hours. The year before, I was told it started at 10 and went to like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Mainly because of the officer elections. So, in other words, this is going to be a long day, but it's a good warm-up for state convention because state convention is also all day too. Okay. The only thing I'll poo-poo about District 3 convention is the cost. It's $40 to attend, and that's for delegates or guests. Okay, everybody has to pay. You do get a souvenir program, which is nice. And they do offer a boxed lunch. But still, when it comes to lunch, I'm a pretty picky eater. So, when I went in 2014, they had the option. You could pay $40 for the boxed lunch and the convention, or just $15 and not have the boxed lunch. But this year, no, everybody's got to pay $40 and get the boxed lunch. But the date on that is Saturday, April 27th at the Hilton Hotel in Greenville, North Carolina. Hilton Greenville is the name of the venue, okay? Registration starts at morning 8 in the morning, goes till 9. The convention is set to start at 9:30 that morning. And considering we have 17 candidates running for U.S. House in District 3, considering that. Oh, and also we have officer elections, and we have to elect officers to the state executive committee. I would assume this convention is probably not going to be over until about, best case scenario, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Worst case, probably 7 o'clock at night. So if you go, it's a very fun time, but make sure you plan for a whole day of excitement, okay? Speaking of U.S. House, we're going to go into the part of the convention where we have the U.S. House candidates. The first on the agenda that night was Phil Shepard of Onslow County. He is a Baptist preacher and is involved in the Marine Corps as a civil servant. He was a state representative and helped pay off billions in Medicaid and unemployment debt. And he has successfully lobbied for funding for the ports of Wilmington and Morehead City. And he also has a 100% score from the American Conservative Union. And he says he supports Trump. Eric Rouse also supports Trump. He is a Lenoir County Commissioner. He is a graduate of East Carolina University and manages 4 businesses. Jeff Howe is a UNC, University of North Carolina graduate. He grew up in Eastern Carolina, and he did not see East Carolina values when he was at Chapel Hill, so he decided to return to East Carolina. He has a degree in economics from UNC. He served on Governor McCrory's Economic Development Board. He runs First and Freedom Daily, which is a very good publication in the conservative media. It is a little bit like the Daily Haymaker, but it's not as gossipy or tabloidish as the Haymaker is. And he currently works in financial services. I have the window open, by the way. It's probably in the 50s, lower 50s, upper 40s right now, and I like to keep the air circulating. So sometimes you might hear an airplane in the background in my bedroom studio. Okay. Next, we have the conservative Pelican endorsed Representative Michael Speciale. Okay. And Hal James read, because Michael Speciale could not attend the convention tonight, Representative Speciale is a retired U.S. Marine Corps. He has basic law enforcement training. He was a two-time chairman of the Craven County Republican Party. He served on the NC House Freedom Caucus and was the founder of the caucus. So guess what? If he gets elected, and I hope he gets elected to Congress, he will serve and be allies for Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan, Ted Budd, and Mark Walker, and all those great conservatives in Congress. He is a team builder, and he's done exactly what he has said he's going to do. Okay. Now we have Phil Law. He was a Marine in Iraq. Currently, he's a businessman, has a background in information technology. He has the technological background to fight Russia and terrorism. He said illegal immigration is destroying the USA. I agree. Veterans need to be treated better. I also wholeheartedly agree with that as well. Representative Greg Murphy, the establishment choice in the race, the Rhino. Rhino alert. Representative Greg Murphy, private practice doctor, who said Obamacare has killed my business. Yet, I serve on a committee that wants to oust Dale Faldwell, and I serve on a committee that wants to expand Medicaid. Apparently, though, apparently, Representative Murphy wants to address the coverage gap in health insurance, okay? And he says he's the only one who can articulate a conservative message. I believe that, I believe the portion size at Dickie's Barbecue are good. No, I don't. Blech. Okay, so moving on, Celeste Clarence has never been a politician. Woohoo! She's a graduate of University of Georgia. Go Dogs! Woot woot! Serves as a CPA right now and is a military wife. Her husband works in the Marine Corps at Camp Lejeune in Jacksonville, North Carolina. She says, look, some on the right are very disappointed. I agree. Who? Rand Paul. Cough, cough. Susan Collins. Susan Collins. What else? Darn, I can't think of. I had a mental block there, but the 12 imbeciles who voted against Trump for that wall funding. That's who needs to go. But she has served on the Onslow County Pregnancy Resource Board for 3 years. Okay. And now, my second person to endorse, the runner-up to Michael Speciale, is the great Michelle Nix. Michelle wanted to tell y'all that she supports Trump's agenda. Yay. And in order to run as a candidate for the third congressional district, she did 2 very good things. 1, she resigned from her position at First Citizens Investments. Okay. Number 2, she stepped down as vice chair of the North Carolina Republican Party, because if she didn't do these two things, she thought they'd be a conflict of interest, and I agree. These were two very outstanding, classy things, and it says a lot about who Michelle Nix is as a person. She's a she's a person with a very good character and a good heart too. And she says, "Look, I'm running for Congress to represent you." How about that? It's a good line, huh? Oh yeah, and she's from upstate New York. And when she was 20 years old, she was able to work her way off public assistance as a young single mother. So how about that? Good stuff. Has a great story to tell, and if Michael Speciale doesn't get the nod, then I hope Michelle Nix does. Okay, thank you. Mrs. Joan Perry, a physician, pediatric physician, a 33-year resident of East Carolina. She's from Charlotte. But she says that she's pretty much running because of the abortion rights that have been granted, these horrific abortion rights that have been passed by the New York legislature. Can you imagine? Well, look, she says she's not a politician, and she's the mother of 5 boys, so she's gotten a lot of training from being a mother, that's for sure. 5 boys, wow. No other women in the house to back her up. Okay. We had one state candidate run for elected office beside Jim Womack, and that was, excuse me, Tony Street. He's running for state auditor. He lives in Holden Beach, which is down in Brunswick County. He's a fisherman, a farmer, and a small business owner. Holds a master's in public relations from UNCP. That's UNC Pembroke. That's just a little west of Fayetteville, for if you don't know where UNC Pembroke is. It's a nice area in Robeson County. And he has served 2 terms on the Soil and Water Board in Brunswick County. Now, it is 7:16 in the convention. We take a 10-minute break, and we end the candidates portion. Now we go into the business session, okay? Steve Reagan is the nominee that's put up for chair, and he's voted in by acclamation. That means everybody says aye, and he gets in. Tommy Fain, also in by acclamation for vice chair. And John Nix has decided after the last 2 terms to step down from chair and become the secretary/treasurer of Lenoir County. Steve Reagan has said this has been the best turnout I've seen in years, and he hopes that next meeting that people will bring at least one other person with them to the meeting, keep boosting the turnout, so he can expand this room some more, because that meeting room that we were at was packed out pretty much. There are 47 of us in that room, and they're putting out chairs, even as I got there. Yeah, it's a good turnout. Okay. And now back to Bob Pruitt. He says the state plan organization, there's a requirement, and I thought this was a county requirement, but apparently it's a state requirement. I think it's a good thing. But the state plan organization requires that there be at least 5 executive committee members that serve on the county executive board, okay? And these are not including precinct chairs either. So, yeah, I mean, this is a way of having a good, transparent, open Republican Party where if somebody wants to serve in the executive committee, they can serve, It's a nice thing. Oh, but they can have more than 5. But the 5 is the bare minimum that the state sets as a bar, okay, I should say. So we put those 5 names on the Lenoir County Executive Committee, and then we hear from the Board of Elections. And when I was at the Forsyth County convention about 3.5 weeks ago now, they asked there to be no broadcasting of the Board of Election speech because they went into the whole Mark Harris controversy. This Board of Elections, though, was a lot more local and pertained just to Lenoir County. And they presented some good information, and they never asked for, there to be no media of this. So I can inform you on what Board of Elections, or of what's going on with the Board of Elections in Lenoir County. Okay. The primary election date for District 3 is going to be April 30th. Early voting for that election is going to be from April 10th to the 26th. And most counties have said no to voting on Easter Sunday, which I believe that is April 21st. And the DOT sends out notices to candidates on the do's and don'ts of signs, and don't put signs in the right-of-way. They repeated this 3 times. I'm going to repeat it a couple more times. No signs in the right-of-way. No signs in the right-of-way. Please, don't do it. Ugh. It's not safe. It blocks drivers' views a lot of times when cars are coming. Just don't do it, okay? Ugh. But one outrageous thing is that in Lenoir County, the Democrats that sit on the Board of Elections, they want 6, that's right, 6 early voting sites to be open in little old Lenoir County. You know how many sites Pitt County has? And Pitt County has about 4 times the population that Lenoir County does. Pitt County has 1 early voting site. You know how many early vote sites Craven County has? Craven County has about 3 times the population of Lenoir County. Craven has 1. Okay? The GOP members on the Board of Elections are trying to save money by saying, look, if Pitt County, which has a lot more residents than Lenoir County, has only 1, and Craven County has more residents, they only have 1, why does Lenoir County have to have 6? Okay? Why can't they have 1 like all the other counties that have a lot more population? I mean, heck, shouldn't they even have an early voting site, But, I would say it should have at least 1 just of the rural nature of Eastern Carolina. You don't want somebody driving 30, 45 minutes, an hour just to vote. You want to keep the early voting site within a 15, 20 minute drive, everybody. Yeah, and Lenoir County is small enough to where you can put something right in Kingston, and it'll be, the most somebody have to drive is 15, 20 minutes. So yeah, there's that. Okay, so we adjourned at 7:45 that evening, and I embarked on about a 2.5 hour ride back to Greensboro, but I was glad I attended the convention, and special thanks to Michelle Nix for her warm hospitality and hosting this convention. Good. Definitely a very good group of people there. Wish I could say that about all the counties I've visited, because there's one just west of here that is not very good. Forsyth. Excuse me. The buffet at King's Barbecue. Look, the food was good, okay, but it was they just had like 1 starch on their buffet. That was mac and cheese. They had no hush puppies, no dumplings. It was a very limited buffet, I will say. I mean, if you're going to charge people $10-12 for buffet, you should really raise your selection a little bit. Yeah, food was good, barbecue was great, but still need a little bit better selection. I miss Bill's, because guess what? Bill's had dumplings. I've been to King's. I've been to Carolina Barbecue up in Creedmoor. I've been to Grandson's Buffet in Smithfield. None of those buffets have dumplings on their buffets. Like, is it too much to ask to have steak and dumplings on the buffet? Come on now. Alright, that's enough schmouse down in my mouth for today. For the Conservative Pelican, I'm Bobby Crawford. Thanks for watching. Good night.